Monty Smokes It All coming at you with the brisket. We're gonna go ahead and smoke this low and slow. We're gonna give you some easy steps to follow. So your first brisket, you're off to a good start. Keep getting them briskets under your belt. It's a Texas thing. All right, guys, we're back. Sorry for the wait. Hopefully everybody had a great Mother's Day. We're coming to you with a brisket, this big chunk of meat. You know, to a lot of people, it can be intimidating, but Monty Smokes It All is gonna break it down for you, all right? It's gonna be easy, you know, no matter how big the meat is, you know what I'm saying? If you've been watching this channel, we've already broken it down, how to get your grill set up, how to maintain your temp, your internal temps of meat, when to wrap, all that great stuff. So this right here, if you've been tuning in, this is gonna be a breeze. We're gonna be all right. So Monty Smokes It All, bringing the brisket. All right, guys, step one, on steps 1 through 3, on how to smoke your brisket. Just like any other type of meat, we run through these common steps. We trim the cut of meat, we season the cut of meat, then we smoke the cut of meat. So this is step 1, we're gonna go ahead and trim. We got our brisket trimmed and we took off the decal fat, and on the bottom we did cut off a lot of this fat on the point. Some people like to leave about a 1/4 inch of fat all the way through. I just like to take it all off the point because the point is, it has a lot of like intermuscular fat, so that you don't really need a lot of protection on this side, but this flat is more of the lean side, and you can run into trouble drying out your brisket if you cut too much fat off the flat side. So that's just what we did right there. Kind of rounded it off the best we could. You know, we're just some backyard smokers. You know, we're not catering to 1,010,000 people. You know, we're just doing this for our family and for our friends. You know, trying to have a good time. So what we're gonna go ahead and do is season our brisket. Step 2. You know, easy as 1, 2, 3. We're on step 2. You know, don't be intimidated. Here we go, guys. Monty Smokes It All. We're back here the next day. We're gonna knock out this brisket, this 12-pound brisket on our Weber kettle to conclude the series. You know, I hold this Weber kettle near and dear to my heart because this is what I started on, but we're gonna move on to bigger and better things. All right, so we got the 1/4 chimney lit up right now. We're gonna wait till they ash over to add it into our fire dividers. You know how we're rocking. We got the water pan as well in there. And I'm gonna bring y'all back when the grill is up to temp, it's cleaned off, and we put the brisket on there. But just to go over a little bit about my fuel, I got some lump charcoal, and then with the wood, because you got to use some wood on your brisket. You can't just leave it with charcoal. I mean, that flavor profile for me with the wood, and then it definitely helps your bark. But the wood we're rocking with right now, we're rocking with, you know, Texas Original. We're rocking with some mesquite. I wanted to roll some post oak, but hey, HEB didn't have any, and they really didn't want to help me out look for some, or look in the back stock. Do better, HEB, specifically HEB and Kyle. But we'll be back when we're ready for the meat to go back on and the grill's cleaned off and up to temp. I appreciate y'all. So here we are. That's measuring the grill grate temp. We're almost there at 225. That's kind of where we want to be at. But I'm gonna go ahead and throw the brisket on the grill because the temp's gonna keep, jumping up while we got our vents open. And then when it hits to a certain point, around 225, 230, we will go ahead and close up the vents. Oh yeah, we'll go ahead and close up the vents to maintain that temp. What I'm gonna do right here, because this is a long smoke, I'm just gonna scoot this brisket as far as I can to that edge. There we go. And then we're gonna put our temperature monitor right here. It's gonna accurately let us know what's going on. So if you can see this meat right here, it's sweating. That means for the most part, our SPG rub has sunk in deeper into the meat because the liquid has gone up, and then it's gonna soak back down, and we're gonna be all good. That rub is really gonna penetrate the meat and all that good stuff. Just before we cut it, if you noticed, I didn't have the trimmings in there for beef tallow. I'm not gonna need it in there for about maybe 2 to 3 hours, because we're not gonna put on beef tallow until this bark is set. Not ready, but it's set and it has a nice color to it, so we don't wash away any of this rub that's on here and take away from our crust. So in about 3 hours is when we're gonna hit it with some beef tallow on top for the crust. If it looks like it's drying out. Guys, it's been about 4 hours into the cook and we're holding a steady temperature at 244. And I've been checking on this brisket every now and then, but take a look for yourself, guys. I have not had to go baste over with beef tallow because that skin is staying very, it's very wet. It has a lot of moisture. So we could have just picked out a really good brisket. We could have picked out it could have been worse. We could have picked out a bad brisket where we're having to scrub beef tallow everywhere. But this brisket all around is staying nice and wet. So I'm not gonna spray it. I'm gonna let it do its thing. And again, it's 4 hours into the cook. We'll go ahead and check this one out here in about like an hour, hour 30, because this brisket is doing a really good job on its own. So about 6.5 hours into the cook, we're holding at 225 on the right. That's gonna be our grill temp. And then we're gonna go ahead and check this brisket out and put in a meat probe to track the internal temp. If you can look, that brisket's looking amazing. It's still really moist on top, so we're not gonna have to spray with any beef tallow. So the only thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put in this probe to get the internal meat. I'm gonna try and get in between the point and the flap. Oh, that brisket feels so good. It's nice and tender. It had a little bit of resistance, but we're gonna wait till it hits 170, 175 to wrap it up. And all this beef tallow we've been rendering down from the trimming of the brisket, we're gonna go ahead and put that on the parchment paper, so when we roll it up, it's nice and moist, and we'll get there. All right, guys, we're about 10 hours in. We hit a stall around 165, 170. I was really aiming towards 170, but we'll go ahead and wrap her now. Let's take a look at it just to show you. We don't have to hit exact numbers, but it's more on the look rather than anything. Like, we can just focus in right here. That bark is set. We're still looking nice and moist. It's not dry up top. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap her. It's been about 15 hours. Our left temperature is gonna be our brisket. So at 194 internal temp. This is what I'm talking about. It's about how it looks, how it feels, and then also the internal temp. It's never just gonna be relied on one variable. So what we'll go ahead and do real quick is we'll take this internal meat thermometer and we'll push it in. There we go, just like butter. Little resistance. So I'm good with taking it off before it hits that 200 temp because the brisket is really tender. It's moving around, nice little jiggly. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna let it rest for about 2 to 3 hours and then we'll slice into it. After a total of 17 hours, 15-hour cook, 2 hours rested, let's see how we did, all right? It's a labor of love. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna separate the point from the flat. When you cut a brisket, it's cutting like butter. When you cut a brisket, you don't shove your knife down. You're gonna mess up your bark or whatever have you. You just rock it back and forth. All right, I'm excited. Look at that, guys. Oof. Nice smoke ring. It's just sopping. Nice and moist. So let's go ahead and cut everything. All right, guys. For cutting, our grain is running this way. And then on our point, it's a different cut of meat. So it's gonna be running the other way. So this is how I'm gonna go ahead and cut my flat. So it's running this way. You gotta cut it against the grain. Get that nice tender bite. And then for me, I love cutting my flats really thin, and then the point, I'll go ahead and cut it pretty thick. Got everything chopped up, sliced up, ready to go. This is what it looks like. Let's hit a little pull test. There we go. Moment of truth. It can look pretty, it can smell pretty, but where the bang in your buck is if it tastes pretty. Nice, tender, melt in your mouth. That's how you get down on a Texas style brisket. I appreciate y'all for watching. Thank you so much for the support. I really appreciate it. And this is the end product. So hopefully y'all liked it. If y'all have been watching all the way through, don't be afraid to subscribe and like and support the channel because you know more good things coming. We're moving to the offset next. And that's just the next tier of barbecue right there. I appreciate you.